A child sits down at the dinner table. The food is hot, the family is present, and everything is ready. But the fork doesn't move. The eyes don't move. Nothing moves until someone slides a phone across the table and hits play on a cartoon. And suddenly, the child eats. Parents watching this know exactly what that standoff feels like. Children living it don't even know there's a pattern to explain. If you've been there, if you've watched a perfectly healthy meal go cold because a screen wasn't involved, you're not dealing with a spoiled child. You're dealing with something neurological, something behavioral, something that science has actually mapped out. And once you understand it, it changes everything about how you see mealtime. Here's what's really happening inside that little brain. When a child eats while watching a screen, two reward systems fire at the same time: the pleasure of food and the stimulation of visual entertainment. The brain starts linking these experiences together through a process called classical conditioning, the same mechanism Ivan Pavlov documented over a century ago. Pavlov's dogs began salivating at the sound of a bell because the bell had always preceded food. Your child's brain has done something similar. It's trained itself to expect stimulation alongside eating. So without that stimulation, the whole meal feels incomplete, even wrong. The hunger is real, the food is right there, but the brain is waiting for its paired signal. There's a second layer here, and this one is even more important. Eating without a phone feels to a young child like silence, and silence for a developing brain that has grown up in a world of constant input registers as uncomfortable, not painful, not scary, just wrong in a way the child can't articulate. Researchers at the University of Virginia published a study in 2014 that found people, including children, would rather receive a mild electric shock than sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. The need for stimulation isn't a character flaw, it's a fundamental feature of how human brains are wired, and for children whose nervous systems are still developing, that pull toward stimulation is even stronger. Think of it like this. Imagine you've always eaten lunch with your best friend. Every single day, for years, your best friend is there. Now, one day, they're not. The food is the same, the table is the same, but something feels off. You're not sad exactly, you're just not hungry in the same way. That's what the phone has become for some children. Not a toy, a companion, a necessary part of the ritual that makes eating feel safe. So when parents take the phone away and wonder why their child suddenly has no appetite, they're not imagining it. The appetite hasn't disappeared. It's waiting for its cue. And here's where the cultural story gets it wrong. Society calls this behavior spoiled. Parents feel embarrassed. Relatives offer opinions about discipline and willpower and how things were different in their day. But the child at that table isn't staging a power play. They're not calculating leverage. They're genuinely dysregulated. Their nervous system is searching for the input that makes eating feel possible. That's not manipulation. That's neuroscience. Screen-dependent eating is a trained response, not a character defect, not a parenting failure, a pattern. If you recognize your child in this, hit subscribe. Child psychology is where this stuff finally makes sense. Now there's something worth sitting with here. Not all screen-dependent eating is the same. There's a version of this that's manageable and temporary, a phase that responds well to gradual changes in routine. And then there's a version that starts to overlap with something deeper: sensory processing differences, anxiety around food textures, or early signs of selective eating disorder. The distinction matters. If a child can eat happily without a screen in some settings, but not others, that's habit. If a child shows genuine distress, gags, refuses entirely across all settings, or loses weight, that goes beyond a behavioral pattern. One is routine, the other needs professional eyes. What's interesting is that the solution researchers point toward isn't removal, it's substitution and transition. You don't pull out the cue without replacing it. You gradually introduce new cues: music, conversation, a consistent mealtime ritual that gives the brain something to attach to. The nervous system doesn't need silence, it needs predictability. Give it a new anchor, and it will follow. Children are not small adults with poor decision-making. They are sensory beings whose brains are still constructing the rules of the world. The phone became a rule, and like all rules, this one can be rewritten, slowly, patiently, without the belief that something is broken. Your child eating with a screen isn't a sign that something went wrong. It's a sign that their brain did exactly what human brains do. It found a pattern, and it held on. you understand your child better now than you did 5 minutes ago. That's what matters. Tell me in the comments, does your child only eat with a screen, or have you found a way through it? And the next video on child psychology goes somewhere most parents never think to look: the hidden reasons some children lie, and why the research says it might actually be a good sign. Click it. You'll never see a lying child the same way again.